But I know what I used to see in Dallas, what I've known worked in Dallas, and I believe it worked in Seattle with your team because you had dynamic leaders in the locker room. Again, I don't know if Pete Carroll factors into that exactly, but I know the Legion of Boom, you want to talk about strong personalities. I'm not sure we have strong enough personalities in the locker room, including the head coach and including the quarterback. So we need an urgent message sent that it is now time. Nothing is acceptable except winning at home, where you've won 16 in a row, beating the Green Bay Packers and then maybe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and getting back to an NFC Championship game. That's all I'm saying. Michael, please, you respond now.
Right, and I do want to explain this. First of all, when Sherm jumped in and I talked about all the things that are going on outside of the Dallas Cowboys with those guys that are being let go, there's also a guy inside of the Dallas Cowboys that they need to make a decision on, or they will be making a decision, and that's Dan Quinn. You know, so if you want to say, hey, can you get me over the hump? If you can't get us over this hump, do we go in another direction? Dan Quinn is looking and waiting right now to see what's going to happen. Also, with his team and with that head coaching job. His name been thrown in and linked with Carolina and other places. So he's going to sit back and say, let me wait to see what happens here. And Jerry needs to make sure that Dan Quinn, if he got the head coach in the building, that he doesn't let him go out the building. That's why it's on the hot seat for Mike McCarthy. But also guys, this comes down to we talked about it. Nobody has ever done this before. Nobody has ever won a Super Bowl with one team, then come over and coach and win a Super Bowl with another. This is an opportunity. Mike McCarthy, this is an opportunity to put your name up with the greats right here. You know what I'm saying? And I called it out. I started by calling out the top of the football team. I have no problem with Jerry Jones calling out the top of the coaching staff. That's the harmony you need in that locker room right now, Skip, Sherm. Everybody understands the pressure of this game and bring it to bear in that game.
I'm going to go take it step by step, and I'm going to start with Skip and his locker room leader situation. Skip, these are the guys you're going to have. So I know what you're talking about, Tom Landry, and everybody had fear. There's no fear in that locker room, and there's not going to be. And there's not going to be anytime soon. CeeDee Lamb is going to get $30 million soon. Micah Parsons is going to get $35 million soon. Dak Prescott's going to get another contract soon. You're going to have to pay Tyler Smith plus probably close to $20 million a year. Okay. So things are going to start to happen in that locker room that affect everything. But it's not going to be fear. It's not going to be fear. So it doesn't matter if Mike McCarthy's the head coach, Dan Quinn's the head coach, Ben Johnson's the head coach, Bill Belichick's the head coach. There's not going to be fear. Fear is not the way you motivate these days. I'm sorry. It's not. Fear is not the great motivator. And it hasn't been the great motivator in a long time. That's why you haven't seen a lot of these coaches have the kind of success that coach in that fashion in a really long time. That's why you see more coaches get younger and younger and more hip. You see guys like Mike McDaniel getting jobs and having some success. You see Andy Reid kind of changing his style of coaching, because that's the way you get the most out of guys, not putting the fear of death in them that, hey, if you don't do it my way, it's the highway. Skip, you got to remember, the last time the Dallas Cowboys were in the Super Bowl, these Tom Landry years, the internet didn't even exist, Skip. So you talk about things changing. A lot has changed since then. The entire world is connected.
But he also talked about leadership in the locker room. And the fear that can't come from the head coach has to come from the guys that are leading in the locker room. The guys that are saying, hey, man, we worked too damn hard to build this to where it is, to let people like anybody that's not coming in and working out and working at the level that we are working, you got to pack your damn toes and get out of here. And I don't care. I'm talking about the guys in the locker room. You have to be the ones that say, hey, man, we can be boys. We can be friends, but you can't help me win. You got to go, and you can't play here. That's the kind of fear you got to have if you're going to do something great. We watch The Last Dance. We talk about how Michael Jordan get on people. Okay, you can't get on people like that if you're the head coach. But I can make you understand, like, hey, dude, We do it one way around here, and if you're not doing it this way, you're not going to be accepted around here. You can get that leadership in the locker room. There's a sense of urgency they can pull out in that locker room that I need Dak to pull out. I need CeeDee Lamb to pull out. I need Michael Parsons to pull out. I need Tyron Smith. I need all of them like minor men, like little managers of their department. You get the offensive line going. Michael Parsons, you get those linebackers going. CeeDee Lamb, you get those wide receivers going. You can put this kind of pressure. It just has to come from those players.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
But
Richard.
those aren't the kind of guys you got, Skip. Those aren't the kind of guys you got. Hey, that's the difference. You talked about our teams in Seattle. Yeah. Those are naturally the kind of guys we had. Marshawn is a very natural leader. He's a very charismatic guy. He's a guy that guys respect and guys will follow. Doug Baldwin the same way. Jermaine Kearse, Cam Chancellor, of course, KJ Wright, Bobby Wagner. I mean, you can go down the list.
Richard Sherman.
Mike Bennett.
How about Richard Sherman? Does he
right. Richard Sherman works too, but it's just that you can't artificially create that. It's either they have it or they don't. You have great players. Great players don't necessarily make great leaders. You have great players in Micah Parsons. You have Dak playing great football, but Dak may lead a different way than other people. He may not lead. It just may be by example. So CeeDee Lamb, the same way. So if you don't have those vocal leaders, then maybe it does need to come from your coaching staff, and maybe it comes from Dan Quinn. But at the end of the day, you can't force that.
Yeah. Hey, Michael, do you think Jimmy Johnson would work in today's NFL?
I think Jimmy's a psychologist. He understands, and that's what separates, I think, Coach from a lot of these coaches. You see Coach now doing the pregame shows and everything. I don't know if Bill Belichick can transition to that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Jimmy knows how people, he focus and he studied how people think, you know. So I believe Jimmy can transition in today's game and still, in his own way, put pressure, because that's just the reality. You got to put pressure. What's going to happen in the last 2 minutes of a game? You're going to feel pressured. So all of this situation, let's make sure they don't feel pressured. Let's make sure they just have it like that's not going to happen in a game like that. Yeah. So we need to create it here off the football field so you get used to it. So when it happens on the football field, you're used to it. It's your expectations. That's what create pressure. The expectations that are there. Teams before you put a championship on the table, you have to put one on the table. That's the pressure of the National Football League.
Yeah. Okay, so Richard, back to you. 12-5, as Michael pointed out, it means nothing to me. Leading the league in offense, in points scored, means zero to me at this point because it just doesn't matter anymore. Now matters. It starts right now. And I look back at 12-5, and how many mornings did Michael and I have to come in here and take the abuse from you and Keyshawn over what happened at Arizona, the egg we laid, what happened at San Francisco, 42-10, that thing that happened, what happened at Buffalo, what happened at Miami, what happened at home against Detroit when we lost the game. We effectively lost it, and the referee took us off the hook. So we should have lost 3 straight games. We did not play well enough to beat Detroit at home, in my opinion. I think Michael concurred. And yet, because Philly fell on its face masks, all of a sudden we stumbled backward into winning the East. And all of a sudden we sort of stumbled backward into, oh, wait, we're the 2 seed? And all we had to do was go take care of business in Washington. And Michael and I both thought they played great at Washington, albeit against a pathetic team that was just fighting for its last life with obviously Ron Rivera as an arch rival of the Dallas Cowboys.
But they felt the pressure. But they felt the pressure of this road, of these potholes in the road that they needed to get filled. And they played better. They played much better.
Okay.
I got a question for you guys. Because I don't think I think you see one side of the coin. Hey, they don't make the right decisions, then fire McCarthy and everything is better. How often have you seen a coach get replaced and the team improve? How often have you seen a coach get fired and the next coach come in and improve that team and take them further the next year? Rarely.
Next year, the very next year?
The very next, because you think your expectations are going to change next year? Or are you going to lower your expectations for another coach for a couple years?
Didn't the Dolphins do it when they got Mike? Didn't the Dolphins do it when they found that coach?
Did they get better? I mean, Flores had a winning record. They won 7 in a row, his last 7.
They did.
And then they were fine, but I'm just saying it's rare that a situation you have the number 1 offense. It doesn't get better than that. It doesn't get better than that. Your defense is top 5. It rarely gets better than that. So you're saying, hey, let's replace this coach, because if you don't give Dan Quinn a job, he's gone. He's going somewhere else, whether he's going to be a coordinator or he's going to be a head coach. I don't think he returns to Dallas if he doesn't have the head job, because why would he? Why would he deal with the turnover? So you're potentially losing most of your staff. I would guess Al Harris gets a head coaching shot or interview at least. He'll definitely get a defensive coordinator job if he doesn't get a head coach look. So you'll start to lose key pieces, and you'll say, hey, well, let's replace everybody. So now your team will be worse. So now you're saying, hey, we didn't win the Super Bowl, so let's get rid of everybody. Now it's going to get worse. That's how you end up in the cycle that you guys are in.
All right, I'll answer with this. Go ahead, Michael.
Right.
Go ahead.
No, Sherm. And Sherm, let's get back to this, because the reality is the Dolphins did get better with Coach McDaniels coming in. Now, even with Coach McDaniel coming in, even when you start talking wins, it wasn't just about wins. It was also about developing a young quarterback. Remember, they were rotating in quarterbacks and all of that they went through. Now he has made this, not only he has developed that quarterback, he has developed a system that's going to work in Miami for quite a while now and is given to her that career. So, yes, he has made it better. I understand the premise of what